huge welcome to Oz. Oz is a Transformers TCG player who is here to talk about what happens when your favorite game gets cancelled, right after he gets me into it. Oz, welcome.
Good to be here, Liam.
Glad to have you. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the Transformers TCG?
It was formed a few years ago. It was, so Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, and so it was a good marriage, kind of. So Hasbro owns the
some nice little corporate synergy there.
Yeah. So Wizards of the Coast, the makers of Magic the Gathering, made the Transformers trading card game. Unfortunately, after 5 sets, it got cancelled, leading into the pandemic.
And we made a little piece about the game where we sort of talked about it because we both enjoyed it. You'll keep carrying on, which we're going to talk about in a second. But you can find that segment around the interwebs. But it is a really fun head-to-head two-player game. But the community has kind of rallied around the game after it's been officially ended. Yeah,
Transformers fans are some of the most die-hard fans you'll find in the world.
Nerds. Yeah.
And so, yeah, they didn't want it to die. And so they continued on making their own cards. There's some software that you can make Magic cards, and they, hacked that until they make Transformers cards. And there's been, I think, 6 sets released since then.
The issue because I was around the community after the release of the 5th set, heard the news that it got cancelled, and then I heard that people were making cards, and I'm like, oh, this sounds awful, because a lot of people make custom Magic cards, and a lot of them are really bad because it's like, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this, and this, and it costs nothing because I really want this really cool effect, and it's just not balanced.
No.
How has that been with the community that are making cards?
There's 2 main groups. One group has gone really competitive, tournament, powerful, with lots of power creep for each of their sets. And the group I'm involved with is a group of groups, in a way, all making their own kind of slant on different things. But our idea of power creep is sideways, not upwards. So the basic, because it was only 5 sets, there's a basic core rule set, some basic keywords, and then there's nothing else. So we haven't kind of branched into like making new stuff too much, just using what's already there, and in that way it's kind of contained itself to be not too powerful.
Because I decided that I was not going to, I was like, I like this game, I've enjoyed the decks that I have, I still have them, and I played them with you post-cancellation, and that's what I'm happy with. I'm happy with that. But I've seen, because you've added obviously some of the new cards to your decks, and I've seen that they've done a pretty good job of like, okay, they're sort of evolving a few little keywords and changing things, but not making it so ridiculous that you have to keep up, or that it's unrecognizable as the original game.
Yeah, and that's true. That's they've just done little tweaks here. There's been a few bannings of some stuff that was released, because
Peace through tyranny.
Some really cool cards that were just time walks and things like that. But they've been replaced by equally kind of powerful cards when you flip them in the mechanic of the game, but less powerful while they're in hand. So it kind of matches up
the balance of the game. And so you brought a couple of cards here, so we can see that they can they do match the art style and the sort of look of them.
Yeah. So these are the original WotC Hasbro cards. So Soundwave and Optimus Prime, Transform, of course. Yep. But when you compare them to what we've made here in the community sets, so this is Nightbird and Deliberata. So these weren't brought to the game. Yep. These are like real kind of niche kind of characters in the Transformers lore. And that's what the community sets have allowed, that we can explore whole new factions. And
so really delving to the fandom side of the game.
Yes.
Yep. How does it work with you guys making cards, within the game? Like, obviously the game's ended, they're not making any more, but it's obviously still Wizards and Hasbro. Is it a grey area for making cards?
A little bit. They do have policies on it, and as long as you're not making money from it, most things are, you can go with most ideas you've got. Because it's a dead card game, we can still use the elements that made each card as long as we don't make money from it. Yeah. So that includes like the keywords in the game and the instructions on how each card works and things like that, which makes it easy to make stuff, but it's quite hard to actually make it look exactly right. So we've spent a bit of time on that, but I think we've come to a good spot now.
And it also, the cancellation happened just like just before pandemic, sort of.
It was May.
Yeah. So do you think the fact that that people were getting really involved in webcam tournaments has really helped sort of bring the community together globally?
Yes. So I play games with people from Canada, the UK, America, Malaysia at one stage, Singapore, like all over the world. And that's the beauty of the community. Like, you feel like just playing a casual game. You say, okay, I'm up for a game, and someone will be awake somewhere in the world to play you. And it's really cool to be able to do that, especially being locked down for so long. It was kind of a lifesaver for a lot of people.
I think that's something that's sort of ties a lot of the sort of the I know there's like dead TCG groups, but also like games that have sort of run their life. I know people still play like Android, Netrunner, and some of the old Star Wars or Star Trek game TCGs. Yeah. But even like people play like older versions of Dungeons and Dragons and other RPGs. There seems to be that bond of people who like, this is our game. We'll make it ourselves.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on, and it's great to see that. People are so passionate about what they love, like people who, started in 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and that's all they want to play. Well, that's a thing, and 3.5, and it's the same with the card game, and especially the Transformers card game. There's so many fans of Transformers that never knew that there was a card game, and we still get new players nowadays pop up and say, hey, I didn't even know this existed. How do I become involved? And also, if you don't have cards, we have digital versions of these games available in Tabletop Simulator and Octagon, and we've made mods that the community made stuff is on there as well.
Okay. So it sounds like it's a pretty welcoming and passionate community around this Transformers game, TCG. From the original sets, I've really enjoyed the game, and I've seen sort of your passion and interest sort of continue and rise, and that's been sort of exciting to watch, as a friend. And yeah, I'm glad to hear more about this sort of community and the card game that they all love. Oz, thank you so much for talking Transformers TCG and the community around it.